Hello everybody, what's going on? My name is Simo, and today I'll be covering I cover how I made a particular track. And today is the how I made for You With Me, the VIP mix. Let's do it. So as always in these videos, I'll be covering basically three individual things. I'll be covering the arrangement, elements, and goals. The first bit will be in reverse order. After that, sound design, and then also after that, mixing and mastering. Just a word to the wise for sound design, may not cover all of the sounds, but I will cover at least the most important bits, and mixing and mastering tends to be in more of a tip fashion, so just a heads up. But let's go ahead and get started. So overall, when it comes to the arrangement, elements, and goals, like I said earlier, in reverse order of that particular thing, the goal for this track was actually really simple. It was just to simply create a remix of a classic track that I really wanted to do. When I was listening to this song, like a long time ago, because I started this track really back in 2016, as you can see right here. But when I was making this track back in that day, it was like, for me, I really just wanted to make a better version of original track, because the original, it's decent, it's good now, but the arrangement is so long. It's like 9 minutes long. And I wanted to make something that was a little bit more digestible, I guess, a little bit better in a lot of different ways, and overall something that could be more enjoyable. And whenever I want to listen to a classic track of mine, every now and again I may want to listen to the original just because it was the original, but I think I'm going to be listening to the dubstep version, which is what this is, essentially. Or rather the VIP mix. So that's really what I'll be doing here. As far as the elements that are concerned, not too many things, actually. It's not too many things. There's a few, there's enough elements to cover for everything, but overall it's actually not that many. So I'm going to start off with the melodic elements. We have the super saw type thing right here, which is what this is. This is actually not my preset, or even patch that I made. I found this from a long time ago, like when I first started doing electronic music production. I found this YouTube video that had all these citrus patches and whatnot. I don't remember where I found it at all. If I could remember, I'll maybe put a link in a comment or whatever. But at the same time, though, I can't really remember. I mean, I can show you like what it's called, though, at least what the original is called if I can find it. But essentially, it's just like supposed to be a really nice kind of I don't know, just like a soft-ish pluck type sound. I don't remember anything about where it is. I think it was this one. I think it was one of these. I want to say maybe Flying or something else, and I don't remember exactly which one. But apparently it's called Electroda Citrus Preset Pack Volume 1+2. So, I mean, if you can find that, then you know where to look, then good for you. After that, we have this piano here, which is just a direct wave plugin thing. I like direct wave a lot. Some people say it sounds bad, but I honestly don't hear that. I mean, it's better than FL Keys, that's for sure. But as far as it being bad, I don't really see that too much, especially if you're able to utilize it in an effective way, which I don't think I maximize with this track. But at the same time, though, I'm not trying to make it necessarily the most realistic thing. I really just want like a piano in a song. That's really what I'm aiming for. Whenever I add a piano or anything like that, I don't really try to go for the most realistic things. So I don't do velocity changes. I don't do a whole lot of like try to humanize things or whatever. I don't really care for that, honestly. I mean, I don't think most people don't either too. It probably helps, but to what degree does it help that it's actually going to make your track super, super, super much better? especially if your goal isn't exactly to create the most realistic thing, which most people don't do anyway because it's electronic dance music. So there you go. Everything is exaggerated in electronic dance music, so yeah. Now we also have a couple of things. I am going to drag this up here. This is one of those things that's also included in it with it too. And let's see. Cello spiccato. Yeah, I'll go ahead and just color this in. Why not? It wasn't really colored in the original, but that's not what it's supposed to sound like. This is what this is essentially. If you ever listen to the original track for You With Me, you'll notice that there was these violins and stuff like that that came in. And it sounds pretty cool. I like it a lot, so I wanted to kind of bring it in from the original and put it into the remix. After that, we also have the choirs too. That is not what I wanted to do. Let's see, where's the choirs? It's right here. Yeah, fun stuff. And then after that, we can move on a little bit to the basses. Now, the basses themselves are not that many. It's at least not as many as some other tracks that I made. But at the same time, there's still quite a few. There's still a few. So we have this. I guess I'll go from top to bottom in terms of what was used actually. So this one's called "Flow with Your Inner Water." I think this one appears during the breakdown, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if I can find that. It happened in the middle breakdown, I think. Let's see. I can tell you what I was actually trying to do with this particular one. I was really trying to do a kind of a water, like a water effect that goes down, sort of. I don't know if you ever guys listened to the Supernatural AU5 remix. But that particular track, it like at least in the beginning parts of the song, I know for sure, it had this weird water effect that sounded like it was just like flowing with the sub bass. That's kind of what I wanted to do. I don't think I did a particularly good job with it, but it was approximating the effect. So there you go. So what this one is cheese Reese. I don't think I use this one, but it's supposed to be a simple subtle Reese. I don't think I actually use it though, because this is what the Flow with Your Inner Water thing was supposed to be originally. We have this one called Stronghold Reese. Well, yeah. Essentially, this is a simple LFO Reese that I created with Harmer and some other stuff. So basically, I just took a simple phaser type Reese thing with some unison and other stuff, other shenanigans, and combined it with what is this envelope controller that has a LFO knob on it, and then also use Citrus as a sub bass. There's actually this because this is such an old track. This is back when I was using Citrus as my subs. So there you go. Let's see what else we got going on here. We have this Hardness 9. Now this basically is a old patch that has evolved tremendously. Hence the number 9. So I mean, I could grab my keyboard just to kind of show you what I mean. Sorry about the mic. But essentially, this is supposed to be one of those basses that you treat as an LFO, but in order to get the LFO effect, you have to actually you have to actually, what is it? What am I trying to say? You have to manipulate the actual envelope or automation thing. I don't know what you call it. What is this thing called again? Automation clip. There we go. Listen. You can see in the automation clip it's just going up and up and down like that. So, but it's not set like that if I just press it. It just said it's like a static thing. But that's the reason why I automated it like this. It just sounded best like that. I probably could have done this with the LFO tool and within the volume envelope, but it didn't sound as good for some reason. It didn't sound like I really wanted it to. So there you go with that. We have this other serum patch, which is actually AE5 plug bass modded. This is actually a resampled sound from the track Follow You by AE5. This particular sound is essentially this one right here. I sampled the main bass from, at least the main drop bass from the first drop from the track Follow You by AE5, featuring that one singer. I can never pronounce her name, but she's freaking awesome. And I sampled that, resampled that, put it into Serum, and then at the same time though made some changes so it sounds more like this. Well, I have to actually show you because it's a little bit weird. It's another one of those basses that where basically I have to play up with an automation clip. So basically that sound that you're hearing right there, this thing right here. That thing right there, yeah. That's the original. Well, that's not the original, but that's a modified plug bass. And if I was to get rid of all the changes and whatnot, which I'm not going to do in this video, but if I was to get rid of all the changes, you'd be like, oh wow, that is like basically the original AE5 bass. That's kind of cool. So, there you go. Let's see what we got going on here. We have this other serum patch. This is an alien liquid? Where did I use this one at? I don't know where I used this one at. I don't really remember. I must have used this somewhere, maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sure I even use this one. I could be wrong, but I don't think I use it. But essentially, it is supposed to be a really cool sound. Yeah, I don't think I use it at all. But it's just supposed to be like a somewhat advanced Reese, but not really. So I have this one called Smooth Water, which is a resampled Harvard sound. I made this a long time ago. It was one of those sounds you heard from earlier. I think it was one of these, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was that sound. It's gnarly. It's really dope, and I love it to death. But it's something I made a long time ago, and yeah, there you go. After that, we have this audio bass, which is a I don't remember exactly how I made this, and I don't remember when I made this, but it was fitting. So I just simply like took clips of audio and just like placed it where it was appropriate. Seems like I repeated a lot though, so there you go. And of course we have the sub bass. I have one sub bass, one for automation clip, and then one for a bass boom, which I don't think is active right now, but whatever. And then of course we have the drums. Drums are simple. C. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a simple, from a sample pack I found, so there you go. Same with this one. The kicks aren't really that good, but they're also not that bad, so it works. And then finally we have these chants. which I did indeed unironically use.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought they fit. I mean, most people don't like chants in their tracks, but you know what? Screw the haters and just simply use them anyway. So there you go. Now let's go on to the next part of the first part of this, which is going to be the arrangement. Like I said, we're covering these three things in reverse for the first part. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So to break this whole thing down, we have a very simple, kind of a mostly 16 bars, but some 13 bars of stuff. So we have a 16 bar intro, which is just this right here. I like to call it like a 16 bar A, really though, because it does evolve into another bit of the intro right here, where it just gets more intense. After another 16 bars, it does the same thing again. And then we finally drop into the breakdown, which is this right here. Yeah, and then after that, we drop into the first drop. Drop into the first drop. Yeah, fun stuff. After that, we have the next break. Have the next part of the drop, which is this right here. I guess you can call this drop 1B. And then after that, we go into another breakdown right here. This breakdown row is the first one of 32 bars. Now I start switching it up a little bit when it comes to this particular track, and I do more of a floor to the floor type of thing with the ARP and the sub bass basically doing the exact same notes, but just trying to make it more of a house party type feel with this particular section. Yeah, also, and going back to the elements real quick, I did forget to mention that I have cymbals. Yeah, anyway, back to the arrangement. After that, we go directly right back into some awesome basses, although the same kind of pattern. Keep in mind, this whole thing is still drop 2A, I guess you could say. And then after that, we go into drop 2B, which is still 32 bars. Yeah! And then after that, we have outro. Yeah, fun stuff. And then it just goes and it disappears, and you can listen to it again if you want to. So there you go. That's pretty much all the elements, arrangements, and goals. Or the arrangement, elements, and goals, whichever one you want to say. Let's go ahead and move on to sound design. This will be fun. So when it comes to overall sound design, one of the things that you want to keep in mind when you're trying to make sounds is not just have the goal of making awesome sounds, but also maybe have the goal of what kind of sounds you want to actually include. For me, when it came to the whole idea of this track, which is essentially make a dubstep remix of a classic track of mine, I wanted to include a lot of like watery based sounds, and this is something that I really enjoyed a lot when I was doing it. If I can actually play the proper sounds. But one of the things I also really enjoyed about this particular track is that there's a lot of, like, I really like resampling a lot. and there is a fair bit of resampling, but there's also a little bit of original. Like there's about half and half of original sounds in here, in terms of like, I mean, they're all original, but at the same time, I mean like original. Like they're actually like created from the scratch, ground up type sounds. Even if they're from patches from a long time ago, they're still technically the same thing. So, unlike something like Smooth Water, which is this sound right here, that's a resampled sound. Something like Stronghold Reese, that is a straight up original sound. So, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have like you should only have original sounds, or you can't have resampled sounds. That's not what I'm saying really at all, because I'm going to do resampled all day because it's a lot easier, it's a lot more fun, and you can do a lot with it, just from granulation and resampling of that granulation with Harbor and other sorts of fun techniques. But at the same time though, there's also something to be said about pure originality with this. So anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and flow into this particular one right here. So we got this one called "Flow with the Inner Water." I've already described it in the arrangement section, but I will go a little bit more in depth in terms of how to make it. So essentially, when it comes to this track, one of the things you need to keep in mind is that this particular patch is like Serum is all about resampling sounds anyway. So, and I think I created the sound in Harmor, I think, or something along those lines. I don't remember exactly where I made it originally, but if you think about it from the standpoint of just trying to make a simple Reese and then resample that Reese and kind of flowing it downward like that, you'll get something pretty cool. One cool track, I mean, well, not track, but one cool trick to keep in mind is using asymmetry or the bin plus minus mode. Either or is pretty good. I prefer asymmetry just because it sounds a little bit more unique and sounds a little bit to my taste. But if you basically modulate asymmetry over time, you'll get a really nice liquid gurgly effect, which is going to aid in it's going to help you with it when it comes to trying to make a particular gnarly sound with like a watery effect. So that's something to keep in mind too. I'm also modulating the level 2, the wavetable position, and the bandpass filter is also being engaged. It has on the smaller band, so there you go, band 24. I thought it was a kind of a cool trick. So there you go. Cheese Reese, this is just a simple Reese. If you just take I don't even know. If you just take something that's like a saw wave and like a sort of a simple saw wave type of effect and mirror it and do some other stuff, and I don't know, it's weird. I mean, you all know how to create Reeses. I mean, you can create Reeses just simply by doing a really cool trick in Harmor. I'll show you real fast. And really anything as a whole. When it comes to this track, when it comes to creating Reeses, you basically just want to like put on a low amount of stereo. You want some stereo to be there too, and then have the pitch difference there. Maybe like change this slightly. Put it to this. Distort it a little bit. Maybe increase this a bit more just to kind of get a better effect. And then just low pass the heck out of it. And you have a decent Reese like that. It's not that great, but it's also not that bad, and it's certainly passable. So that's one thing you want to make a Reese sound effect. Stronghold Reese, on the other hand, this one in particular is I don't even remember when I made this thing. But essentially, if you mess around with the phaser and you mess around with the harmonic mode with some harmonic units and pitch changes, and then of course put it at bass level, you'll get something similar to this. Because that's really all I did with this particular one. I just simply made a phaser Reese with some unison changes, and then basically modulate it with a envelope controller so that it has an LFO effect at a constant rate, and then put a sub bass underneath that. And that's really all I did. I don't even think I even messed around the local EQ with this, which is kind of bad actually, because I probably should have high passed this and then put the separate sub like that. But whatever, it is what it is. Can't really even tell. So there you go. Hardness 9. Hardness 9, this is actually of this similar kind of effect. It's really pretty much the same thing. Except there's a lot of different phaser changes, so you can just look and see what you want to do with this. And then also too, a little bit different unison. Uniform is very important though if you want to make it so that it's more static, but not necessarily like you want to make it a lot more static as a whole. That's one thing you definitely should do. I do have a for some reason I have a filter 1 resonance width on. Same with filter 1 width, and I don't know, whatever. The volume envelope, local EQ. I don't know why I did this shape. I guess it does. I guess it makes sense. I guess I don't know. Resonance shape. Wow, that's. I guess I was messing around with a lot of stuff that I didn't actually end up using. But phaser shape, definitely want to mess around with that. Prism amount, not necessary because it's what it is. What it is. It's not actually being turned on anyway. So really, the phaser, unison, and volume is what you really want to mess around with. Serum, as I've described already, because I basically went into the sound design for this already. Just sampled the AU5 original sound from Follow You into this thing, into Serum, and mess around with the FM from B and the wavetable position and some other stuff, maybe some distortion, and some hyper engage so you get some stereo spread, and then there you go, you have this sound right here. It's actually not that hard. So there you go. That's not what it's supposed to sound like, but whatever. After that, we have an Alien Liquid. This is of the same kind of ilk as the Cheese Reese and also the Flow With Your Water type thing, although there is a bit of a different aspect, and I actually do remember where I made this particular sound. This is originally a Harmer sound, and this is what it sounded like. This is, I believe, what it sounds like now. Not too different, but also notably different as well. Smooth Water, like I said, this is a resampled sound. Phaser, unison, prism is actually important with this particular one, because what I did is I basically utilized a method of creating a Reese sound effect where I messed around with the harmonic prism and then basically changed the amount down so it goes like that, and then put the prism amount so that it stays at that static Reese sound when it comes to the squelchiness, I guess you could say. So essentially I created a simple little Reese effect that had, after like a first couple milliseconds or whatever, a couple hundred milliseconds, it basically stopped and stayed at that particular one, because this is what it sounds like when you don't have that. All over the place. So this is what it does sound like when you have that. Static and nice. So there you go. Like I said, we have the crunchy bass thing. This is just, I don't remember exactly how I made this, but if you want to take the sound from YouTube, you can. So, there you go. And then, of course, sub bass and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's fun stuff. That's pretty much all the sound design. Let's move on to the mixing and mastering. So the mixing and mastering, that is for me, I always do a simple traditional mix on the go, mix yourself, mix and master yourself type of process. One of the things that you have to keep in mind though, when if you are going to be doing that, is that you're going to have to mess around, especially if you're going to be doing drum bass changes and things like that, where like the pattern of the drums change a lot, and there's some stuff you got to keep in mind. So I'm going to go over this simple little tip right here. This is essentially more of a basic tip, but one that will help you out a lot if you are doing a lot of changes with the drum pattern and things of that nature. Like if you're going from floor to the floor to halftime, and then halftime to D&B style, and then after that you want to do some breaks and stuff like that in more of a glitch hop fashion. And then maybe you want to also like incorporate some really fast drums in there where you kind of just like you just kind of just rapid fire kicks at you. You know, if you want to do a lot of like changes like that, you want to essentially change the level of ducking that you have in your particular sound, or the level of side chaining going on, depending on the methodology that you're using to create your essentially hole within the sound and leave room for the kick and snare. What do I mean by all this jargon, whatever stuff? Basically mean that you should basically change the level of side chaining and ducking as appropriate to the kicks. So the faster the kicks play, the more that they should be changing. So let me demonstrate this real quickly for you, just real fast. So, oh shoot, what the heck did I just do? And I didn't mean to do that. Oh, whatever. Anyway, so let's just open this up. You'll notice that as it got closer to the drop, the kick started increasing in speed. If you didn't have it so where it basically changed the level of volume with this, you're gonna run into a lot of issues. So let me demonstrate this with you. You notice, I don't know if you did notice, but if you did notice, then cool. But it was a lot harder to hear some of the elements, and especially the ones towards the background when it came to overall volume and level of those instruments. So just to show you even more, pay attention especially to the strings. So if we take everything out, I guess it really requires, since that's one thing is, just pay attention just to the overall melodic elements. Like the piano, for example. It's a lot harder to hear it than it is at some other aspects, and that's because I had disabled it, and it was just the kicks were overpowering the piano, essentially. That's the best way to describe it. And if you don't lower the ducking value of when the drums actually increase in speed, you're gonna basically blow out your entire track and you're not gonna hear anything. So one thing to keep in mind if you're gonna be doing a lot of ducking and, like I said, a lot of drum pattern changes, is that you should want to change the ducking level, basically how strong the ducking is as it gets faster. So you want to make it basically weaker as the track gets faster, and the faster it gets, the faster the drums get, the weaker the ducking should get accordingly. So just do it by ear, set it by ear. It's not really that big of a deal in terms of like trying to make it work, but it is one of those things you're going to have to mess around with by ear, and it shouldn't take too long. I basically just create a bunch of automation clips for each of the different sections of ducking audio that's going on, and it changed it appropriate. So when it went to the floor, I ducked it down a little bit more so that it wasn't as strong. And you see, as the thing went faster for that little small drum fill, I ducked down even more appropriately for that. So there you go. It's kind of a fun little effect. It's kind of a fun little thing to do, and it's one of those things that if you're not aware of, you will blow out a lot of your tracks, especially for different portions of it. So just keep that in mind. There's of course other basic stuff like high pass, level accordingly, gain stage your stuff, all the good stuff, which I'll cover in later how I made. But I wanted to focus on this one in particular just because I felt like it was one of those things that basically helped out a lot. This is more of a mixing tip, of course, but it's one of those things that mixing, if you're aware of, mixing is more like 90% of everybody's problem when it comes to trying to actually master. Yeah, that's the best way to think about it. So there you go. I did, of course, do some mastering on this track. It's just simple mastering, nothing spectacular. I did the whole key, setting your time variables by key and stuff like that. It's not that impressive of a master, but it works and it helps a lot. Saw saturation for the win as well. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial on this thing, or not really tutorial, but this how I made for my track You With Me, the VIP mix. Let me know if you guys also want me to do the original. I would not mind doing that. Of course, it'll be outdated in terms of a whole bunch of stuff, but it will be interesting to look at least. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did though, be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. Also check out all my links below. Bandcamp and everything like that especially, and hopefully you guys have a nice day. If you want to listen to the original, that will also be listen to what I want to say original, I really mean the VIP mix, but if you want to listen to the VIP mix, you totally can. I'll put a link in the description. Hopefully you guys have a great day, and I'll catch y'all later on the next video. Goodbye.